Hey, everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to Wednesday night. And it's great to be here as advertised with my friend and client, actually, Jill McCabe. And she's a rock star. You're going to enjoy this conversation. In fact, it got so cool in the broadcast area before we went live that I finally said, nope, we're going to have this conversation live because that's what this is all about. So, Jill, I'm going to give you a quick intro here, and I have to put my glasses on to get it all right because Jill is a star of many things. So let's just chat. She's a best-selling author, high-performance expert, and the founder and CEO of Boom U, which I love that name. I've always loved that name. It's an online business school for solo entrepreneurs who want to grow. They want to grow their income and their impact. What's unique about Jill is she holds a Master's of Arts in Leadership from Royal Roads University. She's a faculty member at York University's Schulich Executive Education Center. So she's still teaching and learning and researching and finding the most recent stuff to educate educators on. She's also a top teacher on the global career skills platform Skillshare, and she's been featured by Forbes, Authority Magazine, Thrive Global, and Bold TV. Bigger than all of that, she is now appearing on Snack and Learn in Profit Concierge. Jill, welcome. I'm so glad you chose to do this with us.
It's so great, but I need to go update my bio. So I've got to get this on
right.
there. I guess I have to do the Snack and Learn before I get to update my bio, though.
And we should be placed before Forbes. Just
okay, got it. Yeah, no.
Okay, just in case any question.
I'm on it.
So one of the things I love about you, we've known each other a while now. When was it we first met at Archangel?
It's like a couple of years ago after you spoke to the VIP group on the first day, and you were just great. And you had the best joke of anyone on stage that day.
Speech.
So
Angela Loria set me up for that joke beautifully, and she didn't even know she did it. Someday, you guys, you can actually play that joke. It's on one of my videos here in the group as well. I maybe highlight it after this because it was priceless, and she just gave me everything to use.
Anyone who tells a good joke on stage is someone I'm going to walk up to and say hi to. That's a rule of life. Somebody has a great sense of humor. Find them, talk to them. Get them close.
That's why we had such a great conversation that day too. And we've known each other that long. And as is very typical of what happens with me with friends is we get to know each other really, really well. And what I've learned from Jill is there's so much that she's got to offer. And she agreed to join our Profit Concierge group and offer some of it here. And I mean, broadly, you're a business coach, right? And there are a million other business coaches out there. But the truth of the matter is you're quite different than that. And you're quite different for a number of reasons that you talk about, but you're also different in how I see you too, because you get in my head and you are addressing things that aren't necessarily numbers and marketing plans, etc. However, what does differentiate you is something you talk about very, very well. So I want to actually touch on both of those things. One, I haven't shared with you what it is yet, which I'll bring into play as you talk. But how do you differentiate yourself from some of the other folks who are business coaches? And I think this is so important because we want to make sure that there's a path to entrepreneurship, and we really want to share that and get people aware of it.
Great. Okay, well, thanks. I think if I were to come up with the highlight differentiation, the thing that's probably the biggest difference in terms of what I know how to help people build and my expertise and my ability to incubate coaching and healing businesses, is anyone who's got a creative talent, is that I understand how to make a nice life business. And I think that it's very rare. You're going to see a lot of business systems that have you just it came to mind, so I'm going to say it, like just working on the computer till your eyes are bleeding or your hands are cracking. And I'm sitting here, you can't see it, the ocean's behind me. I've had a location independent business for 5 years, and I am highly strategic. I understand what needs to be done in phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. What I see most people doing is a lot of work that they're going to have to repeat or redo. And that that's like your life slipping away, because when you're focusing on marketing and it's not time for marketing, you're going to spend hundreds of hours on social media. I quit social media and made $500,000, my friends. So you really want to know, do I need to spend time on social media, or did I not do steps 1, 2, and 3 before it was that social media phase? So I think I'm all about the lifestyle. I'm all about efficiency. I'm all about, let's do it smart. Let's do it strategic, which can be hard for some, Pam, because people want to feel like they're taking action and they're going. But you know what? 5 years later, they're still struggling.
I
6
love
years
that.
later, they're still struggling. And they're not methodically going every year going, oh my God. And so you'll know if you need a more strategic approach, because if you've gone 1 or 2 years and still can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, then you actually haven't been provided a clear path.
I love that. And the interesting thing is, a lot of entrepreneurs have come into entrepreneurship because they are visionaries, because they're creative, because they're driven. They are not afraid of the hard work.
Right.
So it's not like there's coaching to say, hey, you got to work harder, you got to try harder.
They're fine.
The real coaching is, let's take all that energy, that effort that all of us have, and help channel it. And what makes you unique, and I think you've had something like 12 to 15 years experience in corporate. So you've done strategic planning with businesses.
Yeah.
And now since then, you've done strategic planning with a lot of entrepreneurs. And the thing, you said something that resonates with me so much. One day I'm going to actually do the math on how much money I've wasted on the wrong thing at the wrong time. And it seemed so real to me and so important, like so much so that sometimes my wife is an amazing support in my business. Just pretty much anything you think you need to do, Pam, I'm behind you 100,000%. And every now and then I'll realize what I'm saying to her, oh, now I'm going to do this. And I've said it like 8 times before, because I tried it with, the fanciest technology. And then I tried it with a mentor group. And then I tried it with something else. And I realized that, and bless her heart, she has never said it. She probably wants to just say, we've had this conversation 8 times.
She's amazing if she has not said it.
And she's a strategist in her work, so it's got to be incredibly frustrating. But, so how out of the gate, like how you have a way, this is the soft part I was talking about.
Okay.
You have a way within probably 15 minutes of assessing or pulling out all of the, for this person, it's this, or for this business, it's this. And like the fact that you said, hey, maybe social media isn't right for you. It is going to be right for some people. It's not going to be right for others. And somehow you manage to differentiate.
It's the phase of business. It's the phase of business. Yeah. So It's going to be right maybe for everybody, but it's at what phase? I like to describe it like you want to build, there's a very simple idea that comes from business, which is you explore before you exploit. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. And explore phase of business is when you're developing your product so that you have a product to sell. And the exploit phase of business is when you start doing things that maximize, that you can scale, that maximize your impact and your ability to reach people.
Mm-hmm.
So what you see is a lot of people probably innocently playing on the desires of others. So I could go out there and say, would you like 1 million followers? Oh boy, would I, right? But I know people with 50,000, 100,000 followers I've had people working for me who have that many followers, and I don't have those followers, and I have a bigger bank account. So how come? Because do you want followers or do you want an impact? When do you want followers? When they can become an impact. So there's a lot of misinformation about setting up your business, and a lot of people think that as soon as they're like, I'm going to be a coach, or let's say I help a lot of healing practitioners, so people who are like chiropractors or body workers, or people who want to create online programs or teaching or bring some of their healing online. I also help coaches, health coaches, and then I also help creatives. So people who have a hard time turning their stuff into businesses. My heart's behind helping these types of people. And what you'll often see is they'll be like, how am I different? How is my graphic design different than your graphic design? And how is my, so they start coming up with these wackadoodle titles, and these wackadoodle titles are like,
for programs,
for their name, for their title. They're actually like intuitive happiness guide or something.
Got it.
And it's like, cool. What's that? And I know because I did it. So
most of us do these things from having made the mistake, right?
We made the mistake, and I thought, and so we think that's the product. So we think we're the product, and we think our title helps describe the product. But the first phase of business is really having a clear positioning around the pain point that you solve. And that's the product, and that's explore. So when you're exploring in a business, you have to figure out your niche. You have to figure out your product that you're going to sell, that niche, and the pain point that you're solving. And wackadoodle.
Like that.
Oh, I love making up words. And now that I have someone who's into that, more will come. So what happens is you need to really have this problem. So people only will part with, so I come to it from this science background. So, I have the business. Yep. I think what people are fascinated about with me is that I have this fascination with neuroscience that led me to focus on that a bit during my master's research in terms of what is actually going on in the brain that makes goals work. Because I was curious, why do some goals work and some goals not work? We all know we're supposed to set goals. Then how come they don't all work? I was kind of annoyed by that. Especially a lot of mine weren't working. So I was like, this is
a lot of us don't know that. Yep.
So I studied it so that I understood the neuroscience underpinnings behind that. And so in my work, I sort of have overlaid my background in behavioral science, which allowed me to work in organizations and kind of manipulate things so things got better. Then neuroscience, understanding why my work in behavioral science worked. And then business, just 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur, 15 of those helping. First, I was helping 8, 9, and 10 figure entrepreneurs. And now I've decided I like helping 5 and 6 entrepreneurs get into their 6 and 7. So that's where my heart fell. And what I noticed is like, we really have a hard time understanding what our product is at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And
we just really struggle. And I'm going to help. Can I help people right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
I want to help people right now. So people only buy from you because their safety is at risk, okay? Something about their life is not working. Now, I think we all agree that money makes us feel safe, right? So we'd all probably, most of us, I'm sure there's the random person in the middle of the woods who's cool without money, and God love them, honestly. I'm so fascinated by people like that. Like, I actually am. I could be like that. That could be my other life choice. Okay?
There you go. There you go.
I'm not insulting it, but I'm saying most of us want more money.
Yep.
And that money gives us a sense of protection. And when we feel protected, we can do more good in the world. So that's the kind of people that I'm around. And so who will give you money? So think about, who will you give money to? Somebody who will increase your sense of safety, because money makes you safe. So somebody else who can increase your sense of safety in the world will make you safer. So let's take, like, my brother is a chef. How does a chef and cooking make someone safer? Well, if you're a parent, he's helping people who are just like bored in the kitchen, like they're having like food fatigue, but they have kids, and they have a sense that they're not doing right by their children if they're not nourishing them or feeding them in a way that is protecting their future. So that's actually a safety issue to not be a great parent. And so you really want to find, even in delightful products that seem like totally a perk.
Yeah.
It could create, there is, on some level, there is a threat. And if anything, if you find that threat, then you really want to, so in case of my business, you could build a business that you could get, predictably 6 figures, and then kind of, $250,000, and then decide if you want to scale after that or just have a nice life business. You could do that on your own, or my clients are doing that in 8 to 18 months. So if you feel like you could do it in 8 to 18 months, great. But if 3 years later you're not, people will turn around and say, hey, she's been in this for a while, I'm going to go talk to her.
Got it. And the other,
and so that's the safety I create. I don't want to wait.
When you said that, I'm like, well, what about things that are, pleasurable? And I think about vacations, right? So I all of a sudden circled back to safety on that, because you're right. I never thought about it this way. Like, if I'm going to do a vacation somewhere I've never been before, I'm going to either blessedly have a friend that's going to help make sure I navigate it the right way, or I'm going to use a travel agency or somebody that knows the area so that I feel, and I'll pay for that. Well, you don't for a travel agent, they get paid other ways, but I'm going to do that because I know when I'm taking my family on that vacation, I'm not going to be heading down a blind alley somewhere in the middle of a city instead of, finding the place where we're going to be safe and happy and enjoy the most things. It's so I hear what you're saying, and I never really thought about it that way. I like that. So that's the first order of business is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. And you're always in a great boat. Like there's something called prevention goals and promotion goals. They're only two goals that you have on a neurological level, like stay alive and make more life. Promotion goals.
Wow.
Mostly that's about reproduction. But it's also about having a good life. And what you have, I love what you just said, because if somebody were helping me, like I'm going to want to take the holiday that's going to go well. I'm not going to want, now some people want to have a different sense of what's important.
Yeah.
But at the core of everything, there is this safety. So in terms of positioning, you really want to figure out what problem are you solving. And I have watched every episode. That might not be true, but I believe I've watched every episode of Shark Tank.
Oh, geez. Now that's commitment.
It's such a good education in business.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fascinating. And you'll notice at the beginning, each and every one of them, what do? They come on and they say, hey, sharks, I was like a mom in whatever, Idaho, and I noticed my baby had baby rash. And so I created this amazing diaper, and baby rash is a thing of the past. I couldn't believe no one has done this before. And so I've solved that problem. And so here's the thing, are there other, right, Trish? Oh my God, yeah. Shark Tank. It's just such a great education in business. But what you'll notice is they're always saying the same thing. Had this experience in my life. Okay, and this is like, tune in, everybody, because this is really going to change the game.
Story. Yep.
Yeah, you're going to get something here. They had this thing happen in their life. It drove them crazy, and so they solved it. And now they want to solve it for others. Here's the fun thing. When you are working back in the real world, and I don't know, this is real, but it's also different. When I was a consultant, although I was only making six figures, people who were making, 20, 30, 40, 50 million a year were hiring me. Online, that doesn't happen. Online, people pay you to solve this problem you solved for yourself.
I love that. That's a great point.
You look around and you'll see that's where your credibility story comes from. So one of my clients really struggling to figure out her positioning. It took her longer than usual. And finally she figured it out. Three of us were like in tears on the call of joy for her. Because she finally realized, she was willing to admit the struggle that she had in business. She was a franchisor and just felt like she got screwed over, or she was a franchisee and felt like she got screwed over by her franchisor. Obviously, I'm not going to list any names here, but and she realized that she could help other franchisees who've been screwed over by their franchisors because she's figured out how to get past that. And when you help someone solve something that you've solved for yourself, you don't need to be the best in the business. Like sometimes my clients will say, but Jill, other people are in energy healing. And I'm like, oh, are other people have businesses helping coaches build their business? And they'll laugh.
Yeah, really. Maybe one.
I'm in a very crowded space and I have a very good business. Why? Because you don't differentiate. Listen, please, with the problem you solve, please don't differentiate it. Just solve a problem that you know how to solve. Do not worry that if I was worried about that, Brendan Bouchard, there'd be no room for me. Okay?
Good point. Yep.
There'd be no room for me. There's she's so amazing. Maria Forleo.
Forleo, yep.
She's so amazing. There'd be no room for me if I thought that way. But here's you don't differentiate on the problem. You solve the problem. If the problem is a problem, just solve the problem. If you know how to solve a problem, solve the problem.
There are enough people out there that have it, who have it.
If you had the problem, people will want to learn it from you. So if you have made $60,000, then help someone who has made 20 figure out how to get to 60. If you've made 200, then help someone who's figured out 100 get to 200. And I'll tell you what you differentiate on. You differentiate on you.
You have said so many things that I want to comment on that my head's about
Okay,
to explode
is it,
because it's genius, right? So this goes back to in corporate, we used to call it the minute you get a step up the ladder, turn around and help the next person up.
yes,
And that's what you're talking about here, number one. Number two, the vulnerability to be able to say, here's what I went through is actually the biggest strength you could possibly have in your business marketing, because so much of what we look at sometimes on the internet is the bravado and the actually not as much anymore, which is awesome. I must have stopped looking at the wrong things because now I'm flooded with just awesome people instead of that noise. But um, the bravado that I've never done anything wrong. I'm awesome. I built this business in 1 year to $10 million. First of all, no, you didn't. You went through some crap. I don't care who you are. You went through some crap. And it intimidates new entrepreneurs because you think, oh, these people have it all figured out. Well, none of us has it figured out. If you're looking at a screen of 100 people, there are 100 people looking at that screen going, oh, they've all got it figured out and I don't. The imposter syndrome and all of it. But the other thing I loved about what you said is you help people get there out of finding that thing, helping that client of yours find and say, oh, hey, this is what I do because this is what happened to me. You have a way of helping people understand what their limiting mindset is.
yeah,
And then carefully bringing it out in a safe space where they can then not just deal with it, but realize that it's their magic.
yes.
And that's that unwritten thing, that a Brendan Bouchard doesn't do. It is a
Well,
different
he's at a different point in his business where he's helping people in a very different way.
right.
I and really truly not at the beginning of your business, right? You are enough, Trish, totally, and you're more than enough. You are like literally, you are it. Okay? You are it. Like your vibe attracts your tribe. And there are people who, my community, they're super, they're totally in touch with bigger things. I'm going to tell you, this is another thing that has happened to every entrepreneur. There's no such thing as not having this. It's the upper limit problem. Gay Hendricks writes about this.
I just finished that book. You put me onto it.
Yeah. But it's the upper limit problem. And like today I was talking to one of the amazing coaches in my community. I mean, this woman is like, she's a rock star. I think she's done close to 6 figures in 6 months, but she can't even look at her numbers because she's so freaked out by her success. And so she's like, oh, now I have to pay all this tax. And if you're watching, I love you. If you're watching this, I love you, and I love you. But that you will, I promise, I swear, one day look back on this and go, oh my God. And I love this. This is actually something that came, was it Robert Kiyosaki in his book? He writes, what problems do you want, right? Do you want the problems of not having enough to eat, or do you want the problems of being rich and having spoiled kids? Like sometimes you just have to choose your problems. Do you want not making enough money, or do you want to be like, well, now I have to pay tax?
It's so true. And every growth comes with, Angela actually taught me this. And when I was working with her, taught me this. And I learned it is true. It's you always look at the next level up the ladder and go, oh, they've got it made. And what we have is a different set of problems. The cool thing is what's different about us, I think, as entrepreneurs is we don't see them as problems. It's a different set of challenges. It's a different way to think about things. You have to stretch and grow. If you're not willing to get uncomfortable every time you get to that next level, you're done. And this is what you do, in my mind, that's unique, is you help people get through that stretch, whatever it is, wherever they are on that path, into the next thing comfortably.
Yeah, I do. I'm known for making, I've always, even back when I was working with larger organizations, I'm known for, okay, so I'm dyslexic and also have some ADHD. So basically not the easiest person to teach. So I'm, struggled in school and had a hard, and I learned, so it's interesting. I learned slowly, but when I learned really, really, really well. Mm-hmm. And so I never took anything on the surface. Like I had to understand. And that's why I can actually go, oh, that thing from quantum physics is very much like that thing from Taoism, is very much like that thing in the New Testament, which is very much like that thing they teach at business school, which is very much like that. And so I have this integrative mindset that can draw links between centuries and fields and see where they match and connect. And that sounds complex, but actually what it makes me do is make things easy.
Huh.
So I'm known for, because I can go, oh, it's not these 10, 30 things. There's the essence of it all, and there's one thing. And so even with the brain, there is some very recent neuroscience. We all know, blah, 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 subconscious beliefs. That's where all behaving is. Okay, great. But there's a really important piece of information that very few people know, and it's a subtle difference. And someone with my kind of brain will catch it. Like a dyslexic or an ADHD will be like, that's different. But someone else might not catch it. It's different. There is a part of the brain that decides everything you'll do, everything you'll see, everything you'll say, everything you'll notice, what you see. Like if you've ever walked by and someone says, hey, did you see that? And you're like, I didn't. That's because your brain is being selective. And we think we know about this. We think we know that this is called selective attention, and there's a lot of stuff on this, but they've recently only found out why. And for me as a dyslexic, I don't know, I love to know the why. I don't just like to hear things at face value. I like to go, oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
So basically our body is run by a part of our brain, the amygdala, which was misunderstood as the fear center of the brain. It's actually the action center of the brain. And not maybe 100% of your actions, but a whole lot of your actions are triggered there because it's in charge of your body. The prefrontal cortex is in charge of your thinking. All this stuff we're doing now, blah, 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 you know, like whatever. And so the body is trained to behave the way it's been trained. Unfortunately, it's been trained haphazardly. And there has been neuroscience that's getting done now is showing that this part of the brain is determining what will be said, what you will see, what you will do up to 10 seconds before. Now, that's staggering. And if it's not staggering, sit with it. Because
10 seconds?
F is happening in those 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with your prefrontal. So all of this rational decision making and all of this nonsense has nothing to do with that. So if your immediate interest is not, how the heck do I control that part of the brain?
Yeah.
And if yours is, then you and I are very similar because that's exactly what I went. I went, stop the bus. Oh my God.
And there's a way to change it after that.
There's 100% of a way to change it. You can totally program it. And that's what I do. And so I overlay reprogramming the brain for more success combined with a sensible way of building a business. So I do both together because what happens is, look, anyone listening to this, you've got good things coming to you. I know this. And I know it to be true because I know you are meant to hear this material. And here's what happens. Every step of the way you're going to grow, there's going to be a perceived block. Because maybe as a child, somebody said, you know, don't show off, don't outshine so-and-so. And that just got locked into your amygdala as an instruction, and it's no biggie. It can be reprogrammed. And it can be reprogrammed in a whole lot of ways. It can be reprogrammed. I mean, read my book. You're not going to get the whole thing. This is too much to try to convey here. But I will say, do it with love. I see a lot of things online, and I really don't like it where we're like angry. You know, there's this anger.
Self-anger.
It's like, or calling it your monkey mind or whatever. It's like,
yeah, monkey brain. I've heard that.
Listen, if you were in a car with someone who was responsible for your safety, would you call them a monkey brain?
Great.
Would you call the pilot of your plane a monkey brain? It's an insult. And no amount of insulting another part of yourself, in my mind, is a very intelligent way to move forward. Like that is, I think that's really a problem. And I think we need to have this love towards that. Hey, there was a time in my life where I was told not to outshine someone. And now I have these amazing skills, but I'm not letting myself succeed because I've got some, hangover programming, and you've probably heard this. It's like a computer program that's running.
Yes.
You
Yep.
have to go in and reprogram it, and you can. And so I weave that into all my work, and
Love
that's
it.
because I can give you the system. I can be like, here's the system.
But
I
that's
can tell
not
you
gonna
the
do
whole
it.
thing right now. But what's going to happen is you've got subconscious blocks to success. So I need to give you the system, and we need to, pull the roots on those subconscious blocks, because you already probably know how to succeed.
Yep, I hear you.
Not following it, or you're intentionally confusing yourself, because being successful is scary. Maybe being an entrepreneur is not safe. Maybe having money is not safe. Maybe
it turns me into a tyrant. That's been my block.
was that yours?
That was definitely mine, and I've done a lot of work on it, because that's a tough block. If I have the money that I want to have, I'm going to clearly be. I read it all stems from one book called Heart of Darkness. I don't know if you ever read it, Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness. This guy got absolute power in a third world country, and he turned into an absolute tyrant, and it just stuck with me. And I never got past it, that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And now I've done a lot of work around that, and totally get that there's a lot of ways to use power and influence that's not corrupt at all. And there's no natural guarantee that it's going to be corrupt. But anyway, I think we've all got those things. And once you discover them, even, you don't know how to unwrestle them sometimes. So it's just, to me, that's the piece when I said there's more to this than the framework. I mean, you talk about the framework, but there's working with the brain and the neuroscience to make sure you get over those hurdles as well. Now, you mentioned the book. One other thing I want to let people know, whether you're watching live or on replay, we're going to put a link to where you can get that book in the comments after we're done tonight, because it is a great read. It eye-opening. It really is. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I definitely don't want to forget to get that out there for everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. So here's the thing. We're in the evening here on the East Coast at 5:44, and anybody who's watching this either live or on replay, I'd love to give them some takeaway action items that they could do tomorrow to just start to affect some change or positive movement in their strategic or neuroscience goals for the next week or so. What are some takeaways we can give folks?
I want to give with the neuroscience, or the goal with those blocks.
Yep.
At my book at the link for free, and read chapter 4.
Oh, you're giving it to them for free. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yes, they
Thank
can have.
you so
They get it for free. So, and read chapter 4.
Okay.
That is going to help you. And the thing is, it's really, you're going to be able to spot. I tell more of a story in chapter 12 about one that I didn't spot. Like some of these are sneakier than others. Like you've got lots that will be holding you back, but as soon as you start clearing them away, life will get better. So please read that. As far as the business thing, I did have something. I thought I'd give you something really juicy, especially if you stay through till the end.
I'm ready.
If you've ever seen, when I work with my clients, I always refer to a movie called The Matrix. It's a movie where Keanu Reeves is sort of the hero. He's this unsuspecting person in this society who can save this whole society. If you know The Matrix, then you're already going, yeah, Jill, you don't have to explain it. And if you don't know The Matrix, you needed to know at least that much. And there is, this, Luke Skywalker, same idea, right? Okay,
got it.
Really? Is it me? Is it me? Am I supposed
thing.
the reluctant hero? And then, of course, there's Yoda. And in The Matrix, there's Neo. With my groups, I always say, if you're not sure quite yet what your product is, you're going to have a really hard time building your business, because marketing and social media all have to point to something. They have to point to a congruent message. So sometimes you don't know, but I don't know what it's going to be. The fun thing is, if you are willing to pick your niche, you could solve a whole lot of problems for that niche. So you don't necessarily have to figure out your problem first. You really have to figure out your niche first. And in the case of me, I was really 50-50 between men and women. I had a lot of 50-year-old men who loved the scientific angle that I brought them. And so a lot of them would work with me, but they were in organizations and unhappy. Yeah. And I was working with them at first. And then I was helping entrepreneurs. And so I really had to decide to go after the entrepreneurs because I just love the energy of like creation that an entrepreneur has. So I want you to pick someone you really like. And then I want you to pick your Neo. So I like to say, pick your niche and pick your Neo. Your Neo is one person within your niche, and you make them up but it's probably a prior version of you that you want to save. Okay. And I want you to think about yourself like Yoda or Morpheus. And I want you to think about this person as your Neo or your Luke Skywalker, that they don't know they have the power within them, but they do. And I want you to see yourself as a guide. And just that mind shift, if you allow that to come out in your marketing and in your messaging, more people will see you.
I love that. And there's just example after example we could use of that, and thinking of the folks I've seen watching this video today. And I'm going to do the same thing in mine. And I can see having a blank paper in front of you when you do this exercise makes a lot of sense, because you're going to have some ideas.
And just, they're your hero. They're the hero. You're not the hero.
Yep. They're the hero. You're just giving them
they're the guide.
You can see what's in them.
They're the hero.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Jill. This has been a blast. Everybody, we're going to leave some information in here about how to get the book. You've got to get it. It's a great read. I promise you that. I've read it myself. It's very, very good. And it helped me shake loose some things that I didn't realize were in the way. So be sure to grab that. Jill, I can't thank you enough for being here. Folks, Jill is in our group. If you've got questions, feel free to tag her in a question in the group, and she'll be glad to answer it for us as well. And as always, any of those pesky financial questions you have, drop them in there. This is the safe place to ask them. There's the no judgment zone. I am so thrilled you joined us today, Jill. Any parting words?
Yeah, I've got to go update my bio to put Snack and Learn.
Snack and Learn with Profit Concierge. You got it.
So I'll get that done. Yeah, no, thanks everybody for watching now or watching later. I concur. Ask questions and go out there and help the world.
Awesome. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you again very soon at the next Snack and Learn.